Welcome, everyone. Monday morning, January 12th. I hope everybody enjoyed their weekend, depending on what team you wanted to win which NFL playoff this weekend. I hope you weren't too disappointed, and I hope you didn't get too excited. Obviously, it was just wild card weekend, so we got a ways to go. NFL aside, I do want to start with a fun little anecdote here. Obviously, over the weekend, I'm not doing these streams. So I went ahead, as I always do, and I'm looking for stories over the weekend, trying to find things that, like, okay, these will be good. So I got some good stories. And obviously, Monday morning, every morning, I wake up and I'm like, all right, let me see what's changed, see if there's anything I need to add. And holy hell. This morning, the news was like drinking from the fire hose. It really was just a shotgun blast of crazy, ridiculous, insane stories. And that's kind of how the news has been going recently. But this morning was a little bit overwhelming with just the sheer amount of insanity that apparently happened between about 8 p.m. last night when I stopped looking at the news and about 5:30 a.m. this morning. So there's a lot to talk about today. And let's kick things off with Christy Gnome and her latest antics. Several months ago, Christy Gnome made a new rule for the Department of Homeland Security that basically says lawmakers, members of Congress, are no longer allowed to go visit ICE detention facilities, which, by the way, is their legal right to do it. But they cannot do that unless they give her 7 days notice in advance that they're going to go visit these facilities, so she has time to clean it up and make it not look like a concentration camp. Well, last week, following the murder of Renee Good, Noem amended her original statement or order, I guess. So it's no longer that you have to give 7 days notice to go visit an ICE detention facility if you're a member of Congress. Now you can't even go visit any ICE office unless you give Christy Gnome 7 days notice. So now Christy Gnome has realized that she doesn't just have to cover up the conditions under which she's holding detainees. Now she has to cover up what's actually happening in the regular offices. Okay? There's no detainees, right? You don't want to see people being tortured, and that's not even a possibility at these regular field offices. But apparently, what happened last week lit a fire under Noem to where she realized, I can't even let these people go see the people. I can't let them go see the officers, right? The bottom of the barrel that I scraped off to put in a uniform and send out there to the streets. I can't let Congress see this. 'Twould ruin me, Christy Gnome thinks. And if she thinks that, then it absolutely would. Let's be very clear about something here. Members of Congress have every right, as part of their job, to go and inspect these offices, these facilities, whether it's a detention facility or whether it's just where people are doing paperwork. They have the authority to do that. They do not answer to Christy Gnome in any way. She actually answers to them. They're the ones who appointed her. They have the ability to subpoena her. She can't subpoena them. That is how the balance of power, that is how the actual power structure is with these members of Congress. And yet she, much like her boss, Donald Trump, is acting like this authoritarian cretin, saying, no, I'm going to deny you the authority that you have. I'm going to deny you your rights as a member of Congress, as an actual elected official of the American people. And I'm not even going to let you walk into an office and talk to these ICE agents. I don't know that I've ever seen anyone screaming, I need to be impeached, more than Christy Gnome is currently screaming. Like, that's kind of where we're at. Even more so than Donald Trump and his very clearly illegal actions and orders that he has done. But Christy Gnome at this point is almost like, for the love of God, would somebody impeach me? What more do I have to do to get impeached here? It's almost like she wants it at this point. But her incompetence and her failures are adding up, and now she doesn't want Congress looking over her shoulder. And anytime somebody doesn't want someone looking over their shoulder, unless they're taking a test in school, probably a good indication that that individual needs somebody looking over their shoulder to make sure nothing nefarious is going on. But as we saw last week in broad daylight, obviously, Christy Gnome has a lot that she wants to keep covered up. Let's get to some comments here. Hatred is too strong an emotion to waste on people I don't like. Yeah, but make an exception for Christy Gnome. I think we ought to. Neat Noodle says, I want them all impeached. I agree with you there. Christy Gnome has as many brain cells as my front yard gnome has. I think that's being a little too generous, maybe a little too hard on that front yard gnome of yours. Love your podcast, friend. Well, thank you very much. I'm not going to read that comment, but that's a good one. I will say, let me kill Mr. Good job. I like your comment. Noem knows she will get a pardon, so she doesn't care. Oh, I didn't say she cared about being impeached. I said she seems to want it. That's the world of difference between those two things. And yes, as I've repeatedly said, every member of this administration is going to get a pardon. The administration's literally already pulled people in. Trump has talked to people about doing that already. So that's going to happen. That's not a surprise. That's not a like, oh, well, nothing matters. It is something we just have to address and deal with. Christy Gnome needs to be fired and put in prison. No arguments here on that. Super chat from Skeet Sarah says, the response from the admin from the shooting is a facsimile of late 30s Germany. And you're absolutely right. They're praising it. They're acting like this is the best outcome they could have hoped for. And labeling this woman, this mother of three, 37 years old, labeling her a domestic terrorist is insane. And of course, releasing the body cam footage of the officer that did it, that made things so much worse for them. Hearing that officer use that language after ending her life, that's sociopathic to me. I mean, I think pretty much every single mental health professional in this country would also tell you, yeah, that's sociopathic. Because even before we got that, I had pointed out, the fact that guy casually walked back to his vehicle. He wasn't, stressed out about it. He wasn't terrified. He clearly wasn't fearful for his life. He did it, I think, because he wanted to. Not because he needed to, not because he felt threatened, but he seemed, based on the footage, to have wanted to kill her. The casual body language and the words he spoke after doing it, that would 100% get you a conviction in court. There is no jury in the country, even if it was filled with every single MAGA person you could find, you couldn't find a jury that would not convict him. You show that footage, again, any jury, you're going to get this man on almost premeditated murder. But, we'll see what happens. If they can get state charges against him, that's great. If they try to do federal, which they wouldn't even try to do, Trump's going to pardon him. So we need the state of Minnesota to figure out how to charge this man so that we can get it. Because again, the footage speaks for itself. You don't even need like a career hardcore prosecutor to get this man a life sentence. You could easily do that. Super chat, another one from Skeets here says he acted like Derek Chauvin. Absolutely he would. Somebody says the Kyle Rittenhouse jury would. I disagree. I absolutely 100% disagree. The Kyle Rittenhouse thing was definitely, I think the jury obviously got it wrong. However, Kyle Rittenhouse did not, have the same type of reaction after he did what he did. Just saying that. And again, I'm using my experience, by the way, folks, from 21 years of working in the legal profession with a law firm as the editor of Trial Lawyer magazine. I'm not a complete dumbass when it comes to this issue. I know what I've seen. I've been the person going through the documents. I've been in court. Okay. I know what a solid case looks like. I'm not trying to say like I know everything, but okay, I'm not just speaking out of my butt here. Kind of know what I'm, talking about here in terms of what a good prosecutor can do and what a jury would likely respond to with the available evidence. So not trying to come across as an a-hole, but this is my wheelhouse. This is what I know. So just kind of want to throw that out there a little bit. But I think another reason that Christy Gnome, back to the main subject here, doesn't want Congress going into these ICE field offices, talking to the officers, seeing what's going on, is because of that report from The Atlantic. Now, for those who may not remember, months ago, and I actually rehashed this in a video, I believe over the weekend, The Atlantic reported that the ICE recruiting standards had been lowered to the point where some DHS officials admitted these guys literally cannot read or write. They're high school dropouts that can't friggin' read. One of them went as far as to say, like, these guys are not equipped to tie their own shoes. And it's more than that, because when you dig even deeper into that Atlantic report, we all know that, of course, they shortened the ICE training period down from 5 months to about 6 to 8 weeks. But it's worse than that, because one of the reasons they shortened the training period was not just to get these people out on the streets. They did it to honor Donald Trump, because they shortened it to 47 days. Because Donald Trump is the 47th president. So we went from 5 months of training these people to be on the street ICE agents to 47 days because Donald Trump loves the number 47 because he's the 47th president. And it's easy for him to remember. His demented old brain can't remember much these days, but he remembers the number 47. Again, utter insanity. Just utter insanity that we are putting these men and women out on the streets who cannot read or write. And not all of them, by the way. Some of them I'm sure can. Training them for 47 days. And the Department of Homeland Security, because they've been pressed on this over the last couple of days since the shooting, the Department of Homeland Security said, yeah, we shortened the training period, but we didn't cut anything out. Okay, that's not possible. If it used to take you 5 months and now it takes you 47 days, you can't do that without cutting anything out. unless you're dealing with like super geniuses who are capable of getting things without you even finishing explaining them, which we know they're not dealing with, it's not possible to shorten the time period by months without cutting things out. So Christy Gnome is blocking Congress from finding out what's happening. The Department of Homeland Security is straight up lying to our faces about what's happening with the training. And the few things we do know about the training indicate that we are getting worse than the bottom of the barrel recruits because they're starving for that $50,000 signing bonus that they're being offered. And yeah, when you offer somebody $50,000, you're going to get some pretty nasty recruits. But that's what's happening. And of course, that's why we're in the situation that we're in. And a lot of people are already predicting, obviously, this is the tip of the iceberg. But that's why the response to the shooting last week has to stay. It has to remain on the forefronts of Americans' minds. And I know we had thousands of people take to the streets over the weekend. That was amazing. I love to see it. But that has to keep up. Because if this dies off, if this officer, Jonathan, I forget his last name, but if he's allowed to just continue going out there doing his job, no punishment whatsoever, it sends a message to everybody else wearing that ICE uniform that this is not only acceptable, but you're going to get praise for this. There's going to be no repercussions. You're going to become quickly famous. So they will do more of it, and I guarantee you some of them will do it intentionally because they see that they can. Given the caliber of people that ICE is putting in there, this will happen more frequently, and it doesn't take, a Nostradamus-type analyst to predict that happening. I think we all understand that's where this is headed. A super chat, another one from Skeets here. Thank you. Says FEMA and DHS are no longer viable. Noem should be impeached for that alone. They have responded to no disasters properly, but this is pure evil. The Texas flooding, Hurricane Helene, which happened, of course, last year or a year and a half ago at this point, before Noem took over, but she cut all the funding. She is not following the correct procedures that DHS is supposed to be following that disaster. Like, they ended all the aid. So she has botched every single thing she has touched. She has turned it into a disaster, and that's by design. Republicans always do that because they run on, we hate the government and the government sucks. So then when they get into power and they get in these offices, they want to prove to everybody that the government sucks, so they break it intentionally. And then they go back and they're like, well, see, look, it sucks. It's all broken. And the American public is so damn stupid, they don't even realize the person they put in there telling them it's broken is the one who broke it. I mean, really, there have been a few instances, again, like this weekend, the No Kings protests, where you do look out there and you're like, okay, maybe there is hope for this country. But the hope doesn't last. And I hate to be such a downer here, but when you think about what the public does, election after election after election, it's hard to have hope. It's hard to have faith in these folks. They suck. And then, of course, after it all happens, they're like, well, I didn't vote for that. No, not me. Yeah, you did. You're just too embarrassed to admit that you did. And the few who aren't too embarrassed to admit that they did should be embarrassed to admit that they did. But these dumbasses are going to keep making the same mistakes over and over and over. And they'll right themselves, for an election or two. And then they'll go right back to it because things didn't immediately change overnight when they voted for a Democrat instead. And they're like, well, Democrats suck too. I gave this guy a couple of days and he didn't fix the world. F him. I'm going back to the Republicans for the next 5 election cycles. It's what always happens. Why? Because the public is effing stupid. And that nothing has happened to change my mind on that. Super chat from Dawn Whitehead says, good morning, everyone. Thank you. Very nice. calming message this morning, which maybe I need. I don't know. Just a little worked up thinking about how much the public pisses me off with their stupid mistakes. Proud Canadian here. Love your show. Thank you very much. I'd like to know what the ICE training consists of. Well, one thing we do know is that it no longer consists of sit-ups because too many of them couldn't even do a sit-up. So there's that. Did you notice, Super Chat here, by the way, from Neat Noodle says, did you notice USPS isn't going to postmark mail-in ballots so states can exclude them? I didn't see that. I do know that the courts, by the way, kind of got rid of Donald Trump's attempts to ban mail-in ballots. So that was a huge victory that happened over the weekend. That's, a positive step. Again, I don't want to have too much hope or faith in anything, including the court system, because it can go to the Supreme Court and get struck down. But good things are happening. I don't want people to think that everything is just gloom and doom and horrible and awful. Good things are happening occasionally in small doses. But again, if the public doesn't stop making the same mistakes they make cycle after cycle, then none of it matters, because we're still going to end up in the pendulum swing of like, hey, things are okay. Oh God, look what's happening now. I don't know if having faith or hope is really something I'm capable of doing at the moment. But let's move on, because we have something to talk about. This past Friday marked the third week, 3 full weeks, that the United States Department of Justice did not turn over the rest of the Epstein documents. Nope, they have those. They just haven't finished redacting all of the bad stuff about the people they don't want bad stuff coming out about. So we have now received, as I talked about in a segment over the weekend, less than 1% by the DOJ's own admission of the Epstein files that they have in their possession. And they are now 3 weeks overdue on turning over 100% of those to the American public. And because the 3-week deadline, lapsed Friday, we're actually almost closer to 4 weeks behind than we are 3 weeks behind. And there appears to be no interest in the corporate media anymore of these Epstein files. Donald Trump's invasion of Venezuela has kind of silenced all the discussion of this. And obviously, with the way the news was last week with ICE, I guarantee you this White House loved it, not because they just love to see left-wingers die. They do love that. But they loved it because, hey, great, another thing that's going to prevent people from talking about the Epstein files. But it is important that we do not allow that to happen. We do not allow the public to forget about this. We do not allow the media to get away with not talking about it. And even if it seems redundant, even if you get to the point where you're sick of hearing about it, it doesn't matter. This is something I am going to mention every day until 100% of those documents have been released to the public. We will talk about the cover-up. We will talk about the blatant violation of the Epstein Files Transparency Act that Pam Bondi is doing every day she doesn't turn over these documents. And we will also remind everyone as frequently as possible that the only reason those documents are not in the hands of the public right now, it's not because they're protecting the victims and redacting their info. Most of those people, as I've said, are public. They've already come out and said, yes, I was a victim. Here's what happened. Okay, they don't need their name redacted when they're already out there telling us their name and story. She's doing it to take Trump's name out of it. Because the few times where she has, forgotten to take Trump's name out, it's been pretty flippin' horrible. So it's not working out well for Pam Bondi at all. But we're more than 3 weeks overdue on getting these files. Pam Bondi is in charge of this. Hell, even Dan Bongino, who, just left the FBI, was like, I don't know why they're not doing this. They seem to be kind of screwing up. And it's like, you were part of it, a-hole. What are you even talking about? They. You were part of it for most of the time. But it is what it is, and we're not going to let them forget that they still legally owe us those documents. A couple of super chats. Let me get to these. It says, it was the Reagan admin that created the idiocy that is all over America. He was the first to go after Department of Public Education. We went from learning civics and cartoons to the war on drugs. Excellent point there. And I always try to bring that up as frequently as possible because it didn't start with Trump. It didn't start with George W. Bush. Reagan really laid the groundwork for the dumbing down of America. And by the way, it's not just his attacks on the federal government. It was also doing away with the fairness doctrine, where the media was legally required to present, all angles, all sides of a story. You could not have these one-sided political type things. It had to be equal representation, fairness. Granted, if he had done that, I wouldn't be able to do this today, but the country would be better off for it. So I think that's a fair trade-off. Another one from Skeets Hair, thank you, says Bondi also needs her head shaved and a MAGA forehead tattoo. Yes. An amazing super chat just came in here. It says, Fur Therapy Fund, love your stuff. Thank you so much for that. That is amazing, by the way. I'm pretty sure that's the biggest super chat we've ever had. So thank you for that. I will treat the puppies and Hannah and Aspen as well to something special. Thank you. V-Man, thank you. Good to see you again. Says Farrod, thought I'd share this quote. It is the strangest and saddest spectacle, an entire nation, young and old, celebrating the freedoms they think they have, but do not have. That is a very good quote. And I think it's very applicable. We're celebrating what we think exists. And while we celebrate what we think exists, we lose what really does exist. That is a very interesting quote. I love it. Another one here from Jedi Protector says, my father and I have a saying, when you hire clowns, expect a circus. All of the admin are a bunch of clowns. Couldn't agree more. A couple other things we got to talk about today. I know we're running up against some time here, but technically I can go as long as I feel like. First and foremost, on Sunday evening, Donald Trump officially declared himself the, quote, acting president of Venezuela. Donald Trump on Truth Social shared an AI-generated image of his own biography that included calling him the acting president of Venezuela. Now, about a week or so ago, Donald Trump, of course, was asked by reporters, who is going to be running Venezuela in this interim period here? And, is it going to be Stephen Miller? Is it going to be Marco Rubio? Is it going to be Pete Hegseth? And Trump said, well, me. And now, not even 2 full weeks after he ousted Maduro, Donald Trump is out there on Truth Social calling himself the acting president of Venezuela. Now let's turn the tables a little bit. I have no problem with it. In fact, I don't think it goes far enough. Donald, you need to understand, bud, Venezuela's got some problems, right? There's a lot of messes to clean up. And so honestly, since you've done such a good job of cleaning up Joe Biden's messes, you've pretty much finished here in America. So what you need to do is you focus full time on Venezuela. So instead of being the acting president, you really need to pack your stuff up and move to Venezuela. I'm sure that presidential palace, by the way, is far nicer than the White House. Let's be real. That's what happens with dictators. So move to Venezuela. Go be the full-time president of Venezuela. Obviously, you're going to have to resign your job here in the United States. But again, you finished the job. You cleaned up all of Biden's messes. We're done. Thank you. Please go to Venezuela and do the same for them. Okay? I mean, after all, MAGA told us Venezuela was celebrating in the streets after what you did. So go and be admired by them. Anybody else think that that might be a fun idea for Donald Trump to do? I mean, you've accomplished everything you can with the U.S. So yeah, just totally pack up Melania and say, we're going to Venezuela. And that's your new home. So that's my suggestion. You want to be the acting president of Venezuela anyway, go down there and make it happen, buddy. I think we're all in favor of that. Let's go to some comments here. This one from says, haha, and so one is better at digging oil than he is, so he should go there and dig oil with his own hands. I agree. I mean, just get right down there in the dirt, like you're a kid at the beach trying to build a sandcastle. Get that oil. Somebody says, clip this and send it to the White House. Hell yeah. We really need to support Donald Trump in this, okay? He wants to be the president of Venezuela. He can, technically. I mean, he overthrew the government. So we need to let him know that we're good with this, that we are all totally fine if he moves down there to Venezuela and takes over. We'll be okay here. He's put us on a path, so he can just go do that. The Dems need to abolish or reform the pardon power and make it retroactive to January 20th, 2025. I agree 100%. The pardon power of the president of the United States is absolutely bonkers, and it has to be taken away. It has to be taken away. Not just with the Capitol rioters, which is funny you bring that up, though, because for some reason I did start to think about that again this morning. It was just driving me crazy. But yes, I agree 100%. Rachel, the sexy trucker, super chat says, Renee got the punishment and revenge he wanted to give the guy who dragged him last year, who only got tased. She was innocent, but got punished. And honestly, listen, based on his behavior with that, how quick he was, I'm questioning did that actually happen to him? The way that it's been reported it happened to him in the previous incident. Because they lied their faces off about this one, even though all of it was on different video from different angles, they still lied to us about it. So I think we absolutely have to question whether or not he was actually dragged 50 meters or 50 yards, whatever, by a truck. It doesn't seem accurate, right? I mean, that happened months before this, and he's back out on the streets with nary a scar. I would think if you were dragged 50 yards, half the length of a football field by a vehicle, you probably wouldn't be back out on the streets just a couple months later acting like nothing happened. So, I wasn't there. All I can do is listen to what the Department of Homeland Security has told us. But everything else the Department of Homeland Security has told us is a blatant lie. So, grain of salt, I guess. Dawn Whitehead says, if Machado gives him her Nobel, it will cheapen it, a pity prize for a pathetic loser who hasn't worked for and earned anything in his life. And I hope everybody saw the Nobel committee came out this weekend and they're like, you cannot give him that prize. You cannot transfer it. You cannot share it. You want it. It is yours. He can't have it. And Machado, of course, I believe is only doing that to try to butter him up, because I think she's worried that he's going to put her in jail because he's pissed she got the award. So I think she's only suggesting that because she doesn't want to be imprisoned. And I think Trump would, in fact, do that. One more thing to talk about here, because Donald Trump is not done with his global conquest. Trump shared multiple posts over the weekend suggesting that Cuba was actually next. I know there's been a lot of talk. Is it going to be Colombia? Is it going to be Mexico? Is it going to be Canada? Is it going to be Greenland? Trump himself is kind of telling us, nah, going to be Cuba, because the United States has such a great track record with, trying to regime change Cuba. I mean, that's always worked out super easy and well for us. But yeah, he shared multiple different posts suggesting that Cuba was next. And of course, a few days ago, you had other members of this regime telling us that if I was in Cuba, I'd be looking for a new place to live. Marco Rubio said that. Lindsey Graham came out and said it again on Sunday. So this administration wants Cuba. And they'll do it. I have no doubt what happened in Venezuela, this administration is going to do with another country. Trump wants empire. He wants conquest. And he's going to do it. Nobody stopped him with Venezuela. Granted, Congress wasn't even briefed about it, but even if they were, the Republicans in charge wouldn't have stopped him. Still would have happened. Hell, they would have been out there waving their Venezuelan flags and said, hell yeah, we want this. So he's going to do it with Cuba. He may do it with Mexico. He may do it with Colombia. According to reports, the administration has briefed the military to prepare an invasion of Greenland. But I will say something funny happened that I got to agree with again. Much like Trump declaring himself the acting president of Venezuela, somebody on Truth Social suggested overthrow Cuba and make Marco Rubio the president of Cuba, to which Donald Trump responded, sounds good to me. And I'm also okay with that. Let's get Marco Rubio on a plane, pack up the wife and kids, and head on down, be the president of Cuba. Of course, that means like Trump resigning as president, you're going to have to resign as Secretary of State. Honestly, probably just renounce your U.S. citizenship all over. But yeah, Rubio, get on that plane, buddy. Go buy those tickets. I mean, hell, I don't even care if you buy first class tickets on taxpayer dime. We'll pay for it. We got you covered. We'll pay to ship all your belongings down there to Cuba, Marco. Whatever it takes to get you the hell out of this country. And then, of course, the plane, after it drops you off, can take Donald Trump down to go be the president of Venezuela so he can play president over there for a while. I'm okay with those things. But unfortunately not going to happen. A super chat from V-Man says, Farron, Latin America and the Caribbean will not be safe as long as the U.S. has a footprint in the region. The U.S. needs to let Puerto Rico go. Again, agree 100% with that. And Trump is going to increase the presence of the United States in the Caribbean. That's just a given. Starting with Venezuela, moving to Cuba. By the time all this is over, everything out there in the Caribbean, Bahamas, all of it could be under Donald Trump's control. Another super chat from K-Watcher says, Trump will be gone before his term is over, yes or no? I saw a lot of videos from caretakers, mental health professionals over the weekend talking about his dementia. And one of them, I actually shared it on my Instagram. In case you're not following me there, you should. From an individual who works with people with dementia. He is, a caregiver and he has a PhD in his field. But he talked about Trump's stance, where I can't do it here because I'm facing front, but the way he leans forward. And that is, I believe it's called, frontal temporal dementia causes people to stand like that. Not Alzheimer's, not Parkinson's, frontal temporal dementia, if I'm getting the name correct. That's how people stand. It's literally in textbooks, the drawings, the illustrations of people standing like Trump stands every time he stands up. That is the telltale sign of that. So do I think Trump's going to make it to the end of the term? I think he'll be alive. Absolutely. Will he still be president? Maybe not. Because at that point, the man's going to be wearing shoes on his hands and doing all kinds of weird stuff that even his MAGA allies are going to say, okay, buddy, we're going to go 25th Amendment now because this is just getting humiliating. There's also, my God, the meeting with the oil executives. In the meeting with the oil executives this weekend, they're talking about their takeover of Venezuela, and Trump just straight up. You guys see this? You guys look at my ballroom over here. Hell yeah, that's pretty cool. That's a good ballroom. He just got up and left and started looking at the ballroom. It was hilarious, right? But definitely a symptom. This man can't even stay there anymore. And a lot of folks are saying Exxon said no. I saw some people message me that over the weekend. Exxon is hesitant. Okay. Exxon is hesitant, which is why, because Exxon does understand, obviously, the infrastructure investments, it's going to cost them a lot up front, which is why Donald Trump came out even before all that and was like, look, we'll pay you to do this. We will cover your expenses. So Exxon may be hesitant right now, but there is no way they're going to allow all of the other oil companies in the United States to get their hands on it and they just stay out of it and don't make a profit. That'll never happen. That will never happen. I'd love for it to. I'd love for all U.S. oil companies to say, nope, it's not worth it. We're not doing it. They're all going to cave in the end. They're all gonna cave in the end. A few more super chats, and then I got to get out of here. V-Man says, to be clear, can the U.S. still project force in the Caribbean without Puerto Rico? Yes, but it's much harder to do. A free and sovereign Puerto Rico will do much to secure the Caribbean zone of peace. Thank you for that. I'm not very knowledgeable about Puerto Rico. And I know you bring it up a lot. And so it's an issue that is well outside of my wheelhouse. So my apologies. It's not something I can really talk about intelligibly. Tropic Rock says, hi, Farron, did you watch any football this weekend? No. I watched all the football this weekend. Very disappointed that the Packers didn't win. That was especially because, like, at halftime, it was like, oh man, I don't even need to finish watching this game. I can go out and do whatever the hell I want because this is in the bag. And then, nope. Wow. The Bears with their second half comeback. Holy crap. Wow. Like, full props to Bears. Bears players, fans, coaching staff. Damn. And of course, Patriots holding the Chargers to nothing but a field goal. The Rams almost not beating the Panthers and then literally pulling it out at the end. I didn't like that. I don't like Bryce Young at all. Really do not, by virtue of the fact that he went to Alabama, and I hate Alabama. He was way overhyped at Alabama. Should never have won the Heisman. And Panthers used to be my team. And once they took him, I was done. Like, I loathe them so much now and will as long as he is their starting quarterback. So anyway, yes, I watched all the football and I am looking forward to watching the elderly Aaron Rodgers hopefully get knocked out of the playoffs and out of football entirely this evening. Skeets here says, Captain Clueless. He also read a private note from Rubio. I forgot about that too. He did. The man is just so demented. It's so obvious, but I forgot about the note thing. Oh, man. 49ers, somebody says, hell yeah, 49ers. That was a good one. I love Christian McCaffrey. Absolutely love him. I liked Saquon Barkley a lot, too, before he came out as a Trumper. But it is what it is. 49ers, I was hoping they would win, and they did. I do love it each year if we got new teams, So now that the Chiefs didn't even make the playoffs, and of course the Eagles are now out, we're going to have two teams that were not in the Super Bowl last year playing this year. So that's a ton of fun. I do love that. I'm sorry. I'm still thinking of Trump reading the note out loud. Thank you for reminding me of that. Listen. All right. On that note, I think that's good for today, folks. We had very productive stream today. Thank you all so much for the super chats. I appreciate everybody tuning in. If you're not already subscribed, please do so. Go follow me all over social media at Fair and Balanced. Lots of great segments still coming up for the remainder of the day. And of course, I will see you all back here tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central, for another live. Until then, take care of yourselves.